And we are now joined by our correspondents on the situation in Kenya. Daniel Kijo joins us from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and Akshay Dongre joins us from New Delhi. Daniel, to you first. President William Ruto is addressing the nation. What has been said and has the concerns of the protesters been addressed?
Yes, indeed. The president has just finished his national address. Literally a few minutes ago, he was taking questions from members of press that were at the State House. And he started his about 7 to 5 minute speech by setting a framework of the state of affairs when he took office. He painted a picture of high inflation rates, a huge foreign debt, and how his government was in almost what he says the brink of economic collapse. He talked about the measures that he did to sort of bring down inflation. He painted a picture of how his government has been spending in each 100 Kenyan shillings, 61 cents went to service the foreign debt over the last 1 year. But then he talked about how saddened he was at the way in which the youth and the general Kenyan public lost lives due to a contentious tax bill. He went to say that he would listen to the people because he's a leader for the people, and that the main thing that people are waiting for was the fact that he admitted that he was withdrawing the Finance Bill 2024, rejecting it for now, saying that he has listened to Kenyan's youth and listened to the Gen Z who pressured the government over the last 24 hours. In fact, since last week when the bill was first read. So now he also added on that there would be some compromises that would need to be made with now this adjustment that he said would need to be done. He talked about different members of the society, from religious groups, political leaders, youth leaders, to come together during this moment and find a modality to be able to hear what each of these groups say to create a budget that would build Kenya and unify Kenya as a country. He spoke about how he will look at how his cabinet would look at cost-cutting measures to bring down government expenditure. He even asked the judiciary and other organs of government to look at different forms of cutting costs to ensure that now the government will have a more leaner budget that would not hurt citizens. So that is the gist of what he said in his presidential address a few minutes ago.
Okay, Daniel. Akshay, to you now, as the situation in Kenya remains delicate, how many Indians constitute the diaspora in Kenya, and what has been advised to them specifically?
Well, Tanvi, according to the official data, we can expect a number of about 20,000 Indians as part of diaspora that are living in the African nation. However, when we look at the people that are not documented, this figure could go higher as well, because there have been instances where undocumented people living in from different countries have been some of the most difficult people to trace, in fact, in these kind of situations, because the government actually does not have any official data of the whereabouts of these people. So that is one challenge that's going to be there as far as the official records are concerned. However, what we have seen is that the Indian Embassy in Kenya has issued a strong advisory to people stating that until and unless it's absolutely necessary, people should not venture out. Unless there is a requirement to go out, people should avoid traveling at all costs, and especially to those areas where these kind of protests have been taking place. For example, near the parliament, where we have seen the protest intensifying, the Indian Embassy in Kenya has advised all the Indian nationals to avoid going to these areas and venturing out alone in these kind of areas where protests have been taking place for the past few days, and especially now with the news of deaths that have been reported by our colleagues in Kenya. It's extremely sensitive as far as the situation is concerned. So it remains to be seen that now, after these changes have been made in the African nation, whether the protests will die down, whether the protests will be rolled back, and till what time the situation normalizes. But until then, this advisory is in effect that Indian nationals living in Kenya should not go near these areas where there can be a risk to their lives as well.
Okay. Akshay Dongre in New Delhi, Daniel Kijo in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you for those updates. And next on to Julian Assange's pursuit of freedom.